Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Glendale Unified School District Board of Education meeting number 1. Mrs. Ishisaka, may we please have the roll call?
Dr. Garpetian.
Here.
Mr. Kokorian.
Here.
Ms. Nahabedian.
Ms. Nahabedian is currently out of the country, but will be participating in a non-voting capacity via FaceTime during the meeting.
Mrs. Walters.
Here.
Mrs. Boger.
Present. We now have an opportunity. Our first speaker this evening is Don Davis.
Yeah. That's right. I want to keep it tight.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Sheehan, and members of the public. My name is Don Davis. I live on Castle Road in what I would prefer to call the northern La Cañada area, not the dreaded S word. I have an 80-year-old home, and I can assure you there's no sagebrush around my house. I heard the superintendent's comments about, or the change actually, in agenda item J7, but I would like to address that topic, if I may, at this time. In addition to living in the northern La Cañada area, I also have 2 school children, so this issue is very important to me and my family. I've been following this issue very closely. I've spoken with my neighbors. I have walked up and down the mile-long street that I live on, and I can assure you that your polling was correct in that there is very, very strong support in our community for the proposed transfer. In my day job, I'm a counsel for a number of public agencies, including educational districts. This is one of the few Tuesday nights I've ever had off, but it's good to be here with you on it because this has been very important to me, and I want to thank many of the people in our community who've come out night after night to be monitoring this and who've been working on this issue. I just want to say from my perspective, given the work that I do as an attorney, that certainly a negotiated settlement is the way to go in this matter. I know that the board, your staff, the superintendent have been working very diligently on the issues. They are complicated. I can appreciate the need for more time. Certainly this is not something that needs to be done under the gun, but I can also assure you, too, that many of us are the patience is wearing a little bit thin here, and that we would hope to see concrete action in the near future. It's important because people like myself who have children who are at some of the milestone time periods that would be affected by this transfer, I frankly lost my opportunity because I have an 8th grader going into 9th grade. So while it's understandable that time is needed to make the right decisions, it's also important that this continue to move forward. I know that there are deal points to be worked out. One that I wanted to address very briefly is the issue about the park. I understand that the district has decided to retain the park or the drop-off lot. I can understand why. I used it. It's great for the kids. But I also hope that the board understands that by that was part of the compensation package, as I understand it, and if that's not going to be something that the City of La Cañada has, or there's a benefit to the school district, that also the Glendale School District needs to factor in that compensation as well in your expectations and in the negotiations. Again, this is a very important issue. It's not going to go away. Certainly, it is the way to go. Litigation and petitioning the county is not going to be beneficial. So I encourage you all to continue the good work that I understand that's been done. It's a little bit hard for us on the other side because we understand that documents can't be presented when they're in draft stage or when you're still negotiating. So I hope that with the extra time that you're requesting, that you make the progress, that both sides act reasonably. If the La Cañada side is not, we'd like to know about that too. They have a vested interest. They also represent us, and we want to work this out in a fair way that benefits both of these fine school districts and communities. So again, I thank you for your time. I thank all of you for your efforts, and I will look forward to seeing what happens on or before August, I hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tammy Smith. And would remind all of you who are speaking on the sagebrush possible transfer that we have a total of 20 minutes and that we would ask you to try not to repeat things that have been previously said. Thank you.
Well, good evening, President Boger, Dr. Sheehan, and the members of the board. My name is Tammy Smith. I live on Ocean View Boulevard in La Cañada, Flint Ridge. I'd like to read a statement on behalf of my husband, Tom Smith, who, as you know, is the chair of Unite LCF, the residents group that launched the current campaign for the territory transfer. Tom regrets that he was unable to make this meeting. He was recently appointed as a planning commissioner for the city of La Cañada, Flint Ridge, and unfortunately that commission also happens to be meeting this evening. What he asked me to convey to you is, once again, his deep appreciation for the efforts of this board and the La Cañada School Board to negotiate the proposed settlement agreement on the territory transfer, one that is viable and benefits both districts. He encourages you to continue your thoughtful and professional approach as you finalize a settlement agreement with the La Cañada School Board. As in any negotiation, both sides need to give a bit more to close the final gap, and neither side should expect to get everything it may want. Both districts are far more likely to be certain that their future in this matter is resolved through a negotiated settlement rather than through a petition to the county. Board members from both districts have spoken on the merits of the proposed agreement. It is well thought out, manageable, and addresses the interests identified by the Glendale School District. Please don't lose sight of all that has been accomplished as you act to conclude a settlement agreement with La Cañada. Thank you very much, and good evening.
The next speaker is Nalini Lazowitz.
Good evening. My name is Nalini Lazowitz. I live on Lear Drive in La Cañada, and very nice to see the board and be in front of the board again. I did want to make a comment about the park, which was mentioned 2 speakers back. At the last meeting, I was kind of surprised to hear so many of the board members say that, we want to go forward and have a deal, but the park's off the table. Because up until that moment, my understanding was that this was something that's going to be an open discussion between 2 districts. And to come in and say, this is not possible, I wanted to address that, maybe not so much for the board, but for the public, just so that there's an understanding. If La Cañada, City of La Cañada, were to end up retaining ownership of that lot on Ocean View, it would be, I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be a covenant on the bill of sale. My property has a covenant on our bill of sale. There's certain things that we can't do on our property because when we bought it, that was the terms, and so I think the park was, or the lot, I should call it, because it's really not designated as a park by the City of Glendale, and it's not designated as a park by the City of La Cañada. And I also wanted to mention something I hadn't brought up before, which is that there needs to be more maintenance on that lot, as a matter of fact. We have a lot of strollers and canes and wheelchairs and whatnot as people are using that facility. There's no sidewalks at all. There needs to be sidewalks on the actual, street itself, and there needs to be sidewalks so that when people are coming into the park with strollers, they're not walking over jagged, broken concrete, and curbs that are basically being used by the cars and the pedestrians at the same time. So what I want to say is that, I hope you keep an open mind if the park is really, or the lot is an important part of this deal that you're negotiating. I hope you keep an open mind and realize that you can set terms on the sale, and the City of La Cañada will protect that property, the residents will protect the property, we'll make sure it's maintained and whatnot. So if that's a sticking point in this negotiation, I urge you to keep an open mind on it. Thank you so much.
Robin Battles.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Every time I've been up here so far, I have spoken as a council member, as the president of CV Town Council, and tonight I am going to take that hat off completely and speak as a resident, as a parent, and as someone who has attended Glendale Unified for years and years and years. I'm not going to tell you how many years I was there, but needless to say, Montrose Avenue Elementary is no longer there, and that's where I went. So it's been a while. So what I want to say first off is I feel that I have a very strong relationship with this board. I think there's a lot of respect between all of us. And sometimes with strong relationships, you have to say things that other people in that relationship don't want to hear. And so some of the things I will not apologize, but I will preface by saying I'm going to say some things that may hurt some feelings you may not want to hear, but I think they need to be said as a resident. Strategic directions, these are the foundational supports that the district should ensure in order to for students to achieve success. This is part of your overall mission statement for your 2015 strategic plan. You are our school board, and I'm disappointed in our school board and our district right now with the way the entire transfer issue has taken. Your focus has been lost, I feel, and I think it's been misdirected. This should not be about the park. I know that council and the residents made a huge issue about the park. We made that issue because this school board or the district, somebody put it on the table. And had you come to our community and talked to us as residents, we would have assured you, you should have never put it on the table. So we've lost a lot of time dealing with things we shouldn't have to deal with. I'm asking you to get your focus back. Your focus needs to be on our kids, it has to be on our schools, and it has to be on the money, because this is a money decision. It's money driven. You've heard about the money from the park, you've heard about the money for the bonds, and we're talking about, excuse me, I think Mary calls it butts and seats, but that's money that our district is going to lose. And what I would like to know from you is, if I just use relatively small numbers, just the students we're going to lose from Mountain Avenue and Rosemont, which cannot be replaced, is $1.1 million a year. That's being very, very conservative. How do we get that money back? You're going to get your money back on your bonds no matter what. But once those kids are gone, unless you put programs and you draw in out-of-district kids, how do we get that money back? If you can tell our community how we get that money back, you will have so far less resistance to this entire thing. But that's a lot of money. And, you know, Mr. Krikorian, you had said in a comment that it's only 0.0 something percentage of kids. And I'm going to ask you, Mr. Krikorian, in the future, I was raised in sales, and I was told a long time ago, you never put the word "it's only" in front of somebody else's money. This is money that goes to our district, and it goes to our kids. So please treat it like it's your own money, and be very respectful of it. We need that. A couple of other things that I wanted to address with you that I really am concerned about, and that is, when you do this transfer, if you agree to negotiate a transfer, I'm concerned that one of the board members on the county used to be a school board member in La Cañada. I don't know if you guys were aware of that. And I'm concerned. And I hope, I would ask you to ask him to recuse himself. I think if our old superintendent was sitting on that board, I think La Cañada would probably want him off of that board making this decision. Because just if you guys negotiate something, it doesn't mean it's going to stay intact once it goes there. It could all change. So we're not going to, you know, they have the final say on whatever you guys agree upon. So that's very, very concerning to me. The other thing, and this is kind of a small thing, but it just tends to make me upset a lot about what your word is going to be. You say you're going to listen to us with Mountain Avenue, you're going to do what the parents and the residents ask you to do, but months ago, we asked for something really simple. We asked for an updated FAQ. I had to go to La Cañada to get it. That's embarrassing. I'd like to see territory transfer information on GUSD website, please. All right? Little things like that. Thanks for delaying the vote. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Ms. Battles. Paula Brown? We have 7 minutes and 30-some seconds left.
Good evening. My name is Paula Brown. I'm not used to talking in front of people. My address is 2120 Bristow Drive, La Cañada. I'm in the Sagebrush area.
I'm sorry, Ms. Brown, could you, we'll let you have the time, but could you speak a little more directly to the microphone?
I have a son going into 6th grade at Mountain Avenue and a daughter going into 10th grade at CV. I urge you not to pursue this transfer. The motivation behind this whole thing is money. It's all about money. It's not what's best for the children. The Sagebrush property owners are in favor of it. The ones who are in favor of it, it's all about property values. For LCS LCUSD, it's all about the additional income that they'll receive from the average daily attendance and the parcel tax. If Sagebrush even votes in favor of it, it has to come to a vote to Sagebrush. They cannot just railroad it through our area. The critical factor behind LCUSD's motivation is it's in trouble due to declining enrollment. It's in serious trouble. The 2013-14 budget deficit was about $400,000. The senior class last year had 373 students. The kindergarten class had 231 students. The last 3 kindergarten classes have had 25% out-of-district students. And that's at the school district's limit. The total enrollment for the next 3 school years is predicting about 100 fewer students each year. That's a 2.5% decline every single year for students. And this, I think it's optimistic. This is based on maintaining 225 incoming kindergartners per year. According to the USC Price School of Public Policy, the number of children in LA County, which La Cañada tends to be worse than the average LA County number, it's expected to decline through 2030. So I think they're unrealistically predicting this flat enrollment. So the current La Cañada High School enrollment is 1,400 students. By their own projections, their current projections, in a decade it'll be about 900 students. And that's going to be about with 25% out-of-district students. You look at these numbers and you know that they're going to have to start cutting stuff. They're going to cut AP courses. They're going to have fewer foreign language offerings. They're going to cut lots of art and music classes. They're going to have a real limited range of competitive sports that they can offer. They already have fewer courses than Crescenta Valley does. And the district's already too small to offer magnet schools, the language immersion schools, and things like that. The argument from Sagebrush residents that are in favor of the transfer is that the other thing I hear is that they don't feel they're part of the city. Well, this is just ridiculous. They know that the LA County Committee on School District Organization will not approve the transfer if they think it's just for property values. I went to the town hall meeting that was at CV High School, and I heard things like, oh, we don't feel like we're part of it. My kids go to church, Little League, etc. They're playing with kids from that go to La Cañada, and we feel left out. This is a ridiculous argument. You get 25% of La Cañada's kids already are going to private schools, and I've never been to a church or had my kids in a sports league that consisted of kids entirely from one city. My daughter plays soccer. She's been on teams that have kids ranging from San Gabriel to Tahunga, with every single city in between. It's a ridiculous argument. We also hear that, they don't feel like they're part of mainstream La Cañada. The Sagebrush area is well represented in city government activities. What I've heard is the mayor lives in Sagebrush. I know the president of the Chamber of Commerce lives in Sagebrush. We just heard a new planning commissioner lives in Sagebrush. Many of the people pushing for this don't even have kids in the area. So I don't understand this whole argument. I think it's all a big facade to cover up this true motivation of property values. It's all about property values. The Sagebrush transfer, it's a feeble Band-Aid for fixing this decline in enrollment problem. We're talking about 25 kids or less per grade. And LCUSD is looking at a gap right now from their senior class to their kindergarten class of, well over 100 students. It's not enough to fix the problem. I've heard from my neighbors that they're expecting their property values to go up $50,000 to $100,000. But, I look at this as, maybe it will, but the rise is going to be short-lived. The school district, as it cannot offer things to the kids, is not going to be an attractive school district. And at that point, property taxes will start going down. But in the meantime, parcel taxes are going to be on the rise because a small school district has fixed operating costs. It's my time. Anyway, I urge you not to vote for this and just not to pursue this anymore.
Thank you. The next speaker is Leslie Dixon. We have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to speak on the Sagebrush issue.
Good evening. I'm Leslie Dixon. I live at 2800 El Caminito Street. I have 4 children at GUSD, 1 incoming at Rosemont, and 3 more over at Monte Vista. I want to say thank you very much for taking the park off the table. That was a real concern to a lot of the citizens and a lot of the people that go to Mountain Avenue. So thank you very much for that. I'm here to speak on the sagebrush issue. A lot of the things we've heard lately have all been about the sagebrush students, but this isn't just about the sagebrush students. It's about all of the students at GUSD. This affects all of the residents and all of the students. Losing the students will affect all of the money that's coming in, the ADA, the property taxes, and the bond money as well. I'm not sure how you guys are planning on making that up. That the ADA money goes directly to the school site, and that means that their funding is going to be down, and I'm not sure where they're going to be able to make up that difference. I want to remind the school district that twice Glendale has had this issue come up, and both times Glendale has won. Because as we've heard at previous meetings, most of the districts do not follow city boundaries. There's no reason for that. Finally, many of the parents are out of town right now, and so they're not able to come. I've actually spoken to many people that are in Hawaii and off on vacation, and they weren't able to come this evening, and they weren't able to email on such short notice. We didn't realize this vote, which you've now delayed, was going to come up. Please reach out to the parents again. Monte Vista has no idea you're changing its boundaries. Fremont has no idea you're going to change its boundaries if this goes through. The Mountain Avenue parents don't know where the extra money is going to come from. I don't think they even know that you've taken the park off the table, except for the few people that are getting emails. Please reach out to the school, the district, the schools again, the parents, and the residents, because if you're going to make any changes to Mountain Avenue, that's going to affect the people that live there in that area who may not have children. Also, I want to say one last thing. You're here to serve the students, not La Cañada residents, but all the students. And I feel if you say, yes, go ahead, Sagebrush, you may go to La Cañada, you're saying that La Cañada can serve the students better than Glendale Unified School District can. And I didn't actually know what she was going to say, but I don't think that's true at all. We specifically purchased our house in Glendale Unified School District for a reason. I went to Glendale Unified, my parents went to Glendale Unified. We know that Glendale Unified can do the best job in educating our children, and we're really pleased to be part of that. And by saying, no, go ahead, Sagebrush, go to La Cañada, you're essentially saying that they can educate them better, and I just don't think that's true. So please remember that you're here for the kids, for the residents, and to serve them, and not just say, do what a few homeowners want to have happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have exhausted our time for Sagebrush. I have 2 additional cards. I apologize to those speakers that we will not be able to hear them this evening.